Uh, I'm Jim Halloran. I'm a Salesian. I was born in Kilkenny, ordained in 1963, and I've had a very varied sort of career really, because for 20 years I was in schools. In 10 of those years I was headmaster, Malta and Swaziland. And as a teacher I worked in, and also I did headmastering in Latin America. And also the places where I taught in England and Malta, of course, Swaziland, in Southern Africa, and in Latin America, in Ecuador. And I taught, in my time I taught at every level, primary, secondary, third level, so I've got a lot of teaching experience. But about 1980, a different thing came my way. I got invited to Africa. I'd been working with small Christian communities in Latin America, and I was back on a course, and I got requests from Africa to go and share on small Christian communities in Africa. The bishops all over Africa were getting very interested in that area, and so Father Hicks, who was provincial at the time, advised me to go with that, which I did, and that took me all over Africa from end to end since, really. And in addition, I felt that the more experience I had, the more useful I could be to people as I went along. So I worked all over Africa, but I also went to various parts of South America to see what was happening there. Even went back to the place where I was myself and went out in the rural areas to get experience out there. I was in North America, and one summer I just went on a fact-finding mission which took me around the States, Latin America, and so on. And then I went on to this work, and since I've worked East and West Europe, all over Australia, Thailand, India, China, but my focus was in Africa. So, and also, since you're into the whole thing of youth, I always emphasised the youth apostolate, and I tried to get people what I was teaching about small Christian communities, basic Christian communities for adults. I suggested that they do the same thing for young people. Then I went to the novitiate in Burwash, which I found at the beginning very, very difficult. And this is an interesting story. I went to the novice master and I told him I'd had enough. And he said, "Okay, you can go home tomorrow." So when you went, in those days you just disappeared, you know. The novice would just go. There would be no farewell or anything. It was the old style, you know. And I got up in the morning and I went down to meditation, as usual, and prayed, getting ready. And after meditation I was to go to the refectory and have breakfast, and then go. And as I was walking down the corridor, the novice master, Father Simonetti, tapped me on the shoulder, and he said to me, "Stay." God, I was shocked, because I mean, I was open, you know, and when he said stay, and I went in to the study hall, and we used to have to study the Holy Rule. And I opened the Holy Rule. I was in a daze, really. I opened the Holy Rule in front of me on the desk, and I took a look down. When I looked down, it said, "God has called you, to the end he may save you." So, very early on, I found myself, thinking about life very early on. And, you know, it came to me that, gee, this is going to end, we're not going to be here forever. And really, it's about the afterlife. This is going to be permanence, you know. And I was struck by that, and I felt that let me concentrate on this, you know. Let me concentrate on this fact of life, which attracted me to and I really admired the Augustinians, you know, their life, that they were devoting themselves entirely to this heavenly prospect, and making sacrifices in this life. They didn't marry, or all that sort of registered with me, and I loved my life around the friary, you know, and with the other lads. That was great, you know, and we all used to volunteer, you know. We used to help the friars. They had a big garden at the back, and we'd come and help Brother Columba, and he'd bring us in and give us apples or give us little treats, you know. But we never thought in terms of remuneration. We just wanted to help, and you know. And with regard to what I did with the other lads, you know, it was just something inspired, I suppose, by the Spirit, and I enjoyed it. I mean, I never thought of payment or remuneration or anything like that. It was part of that thing that we've got to try and be positive in this life, and build the kingdom, which I wouldn't have said then, and wouldn't have registered, I wouldn't have understood that.
Who takes away our sin? Behold the Lamb of...
I think we've got, very important for me is the whole concept of the kingdom of God. That was the priority with Jesus, you know. The church was not the priority. The priority was the kingdom. The church is mentioned 3 times in the gospel. The kingdom is all over the gospel. And Jesus said, seek you first the kingdom of God and its justice, and all other things will be added unto you. So I think, you know, as a Christian, and Christ means so much to me, and the Blessed Trinity, that I think we've got to, that's what I want to share. But where do I begin? How about the kingdom, you know? The priority with God, with Jesus, is the kingdom. And what is the kingdom? You've got to ask yourself, what is the kingdom? Well, the kingdom is wherever you find goodness. So, for me, wherever you find goodness, no matter who's doing it, as a Christian, and as my top priority, I've got to uphold it, and I've got to support that good as a top priority. Now, I don't want to diminish the church, or I don't want to diminish Christ. All I'm saying is that I think if we want to attract people to Christ and the church, that we should have a church that's out there building the kingdom of God in the world. And then people will look at us and say, see how those Christians love one another. And they will find their way to us. But look, if they don't, people will go by various paths to God. It's the goodness, it's the kingdom. And as I said, I wouldn't, you know, there's groups that I couldn't identify as Christian groups. Maybe partially, some might not, but they're kingdom groups. And thank God. I like the emphasis of the Rector Major that we're for young people. But I think now, you know, the way we've got to see young people in the context of family and of society, not as an isolated group, you know. And we've got to address them in the context. In other words, that means work with parents, work with the adults in their lives as well. I think that a more holistic approach, I think, is called for. Focus on young people without reference to their parents. For example, in the Don Bosco houses, whatever the situation at home is, we try to relate the kids to them and bring in the people for a meal or whatever, you know. We try to keep those links open, even when it's a very fragile situation. So I think we've got to see young people in the context of society in general, their families and so on. And also, I think we can do more about the opting for the really marginalised people in society. Okay. We can do more. That's Jesus' own option. It should be our option, and our work is with the youth, and our option for the poor should be for the most marginalised of the young people.